The rain was coming down in sheets as I drove home, the wipers of my Ford struggling to keep up. I'm Quentin, 46, a software engineer working for a tech company in Seattle. For years, I'd considered myself lucky. I had a good job, a comfortable house in the suburbs, and a wife, Isolde, who I adored. Or I thought I did. Isolde was a therapist, a caring and compassionate woman who, I believed, dedicated her life to helping others. We'd been married for 15 years, a milestone I had been planning to celebrate with a trip to Italy. Now the thought made me sick. The first sign that something was wrong was subtle. Isolde started working later, claiming her clients needed her. I didn't think much of it at first, trusting her implicitly. But then the late nights turned into overnight emergencies. She became distant, less affectionate. When I tried to talk to her, she'd brush me off, saying she was stressed. One evening, about 3 months ago, she said she had to attend an out-of-town conference in Portland. "It's a big deal, Quentin," she said, her eyes avoiding mine. "I need to be there." I offered to drive her to the airport, but she insisted on taking an Uber. Looking back, the lie was so blatant, yet I swallowed it whole. That weekend, I was restless. I missed her, but something felt off. I decided to surprise her by sending flowers to her hotel. I called the hotel in Portland the Paramount and asked to have a bouquet delivered to Isolde under our last name. The receptionist paused, then said, "I am sorry, sir, we don't have a guest by that name registered." My heart lurched. There had to be a mistake. "Are you sure? Isolde is attending a conference there, no one by that name, sir. Perhaps she's at a different hotel." I hung up, my mind racing. I tried calling Isolde, but she didn't answer. I left a message, trying to sound casual. "Hey, honey, just wanted to see how the conference is going. Call me when you get a chance." Hours passed. No call. The knot in my stomach tightened. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. I started going through her things, something I had never done before. I felt like a criminal violating her privacy. But I couldn't stop myself. In her desk, tucked away in a drawer, I found a second phone. It was an older model, one I hadn't seen her use in years. My hands trembled as I turned it on. It was password protected, but after a few attempts I guessed it. It was our anniversary date. The phone was filled with messages and photos. My blood ran cold as I scrolled through them. They were from a man named Evander. The messages were explicit, intimate, and sickening. Photos of them together, laughing, kissing, holding hands. Photos taken in our bed. Evander was a colleague of Isolde. I'd met him a few times at office parties. He was always overly friendly, always lingering a little too long when he talked to Isolde. I'd dismissed it as him being a social butterfly. Now I wanted to punch his face in. The messages spanned months, detailing their affair, their secret rendezvous, their lies. My wife, the woman I loved, had been betraying me for months. The pain was like a physical blow, knocking the wind out of me. I sank into a chair, the phone slipping from my grasp. I spent the rest of the night in a daze, replaying the messages, the photos, the lies. I didn't sleep. When Isolde finally called the next morning, I answered, my voice flat. "Where are you?" I asked. "I'm still at the conference," she said, her voice bright and cheerful. "It's been so busy. I'm sorry I haven't called." "The conference at the Paramount." There was a pause. "Yes," she said, her voice wavering slightly. "Why, I called the hotel, Isolde. They don't have you registered." Silence. Then a sob. "Quentin, I can explain." "Explain what?" "Explain how you've been sleeping with Evander behind my back. Explain how you've been lying to me for months." She started crying, begging me to listen. "It's not what you think," she said. "It just happened. I didn't mean for it to go this far. It's not what I think. I have the messages, Isolde. I have the photos. I know everything." I hung up. I couldn't listen to her lies anymore. I felt sick, disgusted, and utterly heartbroken. I packed a bag, grabbed my keys, and left the house. I needed to get away, to clear my head, to figure out what to do. I drove aimlessly for hours, ending up at a small motel in the mountains east of Seattle. I checked in, went to my room, and stared at the wall. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. All I could think about was Isolde and Evander, their betrayal, their lies. The next day, I decided I needed to confront them. I drove back to Seattle, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. I went to Isolde's office, barging in without an appointment. She was there, sitting at her desk, looking pale and distraught. Evander was there too, standing by the window, his face ashen. They both looked shocked to see me. "What do you want, Quentin?" Isolde asked, her voice trembling. I want to know why, I said, my voice low and dangerous. Why did you do this to me? To us? Isolde started crying again. I don't know, she sobbed. I was unhappy, I felt neglected. Evander made me feel seen, neglected, I scoffed. I worked my ass off to provide for you, to give you everything you wanted. How was that neglect? It wasn't about the money, Quentin, she said. It was about the emotional connection. You were always working, always focused on your career. I felt like you didn't see me anymore. I turned to Evander. And you? What's your excuse? You knew she was married. You knew she was my wife. Evander shifted uncomfortably. I couldn't help it, he stammered. I fell in love with her. Love, I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. You call this love? This is betrayal, deceit, and selfishness. You're both pathetic. I wanted to hit them, to lash out, to make them feel the pain I was feeling, but I restrained myself. Violence wouldn't solve anything. Instead, I decided to hit them where it would hurt the most. I am filing for divorce, I said, my voice cold and resolute. I want nothing to do with either of you ever again. I turned and walked out, leaving them standing there speechless. I went straight to a lawyer and filed the papers. I also contacted the ethics board for therapists, reporting Isolde's affair and her breach of professional conduct. I knew it would likely cost her her license, but I didn't care. She deserved it. As for Evander, I decided to take a different approach. I knew he had been working on a major project for the company, one that could make or break his career. I also knew he had been cutting corners, using unethical practices to get ahead. I gathered evidence of his misconduct and presented it to the company's CEO. Evander was fired the next day. His reputation was ruined, his career in shambles. It wasn't revenge, not exactly. It was justice. They had both betrayed me, and they both had to face the consequences of their actions. I still felt the pain of their betrayal, but knowing they were suffering too gave me some small measure of satisfaction. The divorce was finalized a few months later. Isolde tried to apologize, to beg me to take her back, but I refused. I couldn't forgive her. The trust was broken, the love was gone. I sold the house, moved to a small apartment downtown, and started rebuilding my life. It wasn't easy. There were days when the pain was overwhelming, when I couldn't stop thinking about Isolde and Evander. But I kept moving forward, focusing on my work, my friends, and my own well-being. One day, about a year after the divorce, I received a call from a private investigator. He had been hired by Evander's wife, Gwendaline, to investigate his affair with Isolde. She wanted to know if I had any information that could help her with her divorce. I met with Gwendaline and told her everything. She was grateful for my help. We talked for hours, sharing our stories of betrayal and heartbreak. We discovered we had a lot in common. Over the next few months, Gwendaline and I became close friends. We supported each other through the difficult times, offering each other comfort and understanding. Eventually, our friendship blossomed into something more. I never thought I could love again after what Isolde did to me. But Gwendaline showed me that it was possible to heal, to forgive, and to open my heart to someone new. We've been together for 2 years now. We're happy, we're in love, and we're building a new life together. I still think about Isolde sometimes, but the pain is less intense now. I've learned that betrayal can be a devastating experience, but it doesn't have to define you. You can survive, you can heal, and you can find love again. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder if Isolde and Evander are still together. I don't know, and I don't care. They made their choices, and they have to live with the consequences. I've moved on, and I am finally happy. The rain has stopped and the sun is shining again. I am finally free.